following show contains adult content. It's not our intent to offend anyone, but we want to inform you that if you are a child under the age of 18 or get offended easily, this next show may not be for you. The content, opinions, and subject matter of these shows are solely the choice of your show hosts and their guests, and not those of the Entertainment Network or any affiliated stations. Any comments or inquiries should be directed to those show hosts. Thank you for listening.
To the Adventure of Pipeman on W4CY Radio.
Wake up, America! It's time for the Adventures of Pipeman on W4CY.com, West Palm Beach's #1 internet radio station. Here's your host, the Pipeman.
Yo! It's blizzard conditions here in South Florida. Oh, my God, it's terrible. And we'll talk about that a little bit because all of us are in Florida that are on the show today, so we can talk about it. I am in shock, just like the iguanas, okay? And that's why I'm literally in the studio right now. And look at this. I'm bundled up in the studio. That's pretty wild. And behind me there, you can't see him, but it's Groundhog Day. The Groundhog's out there, and he's saying, screw this crap. You guys deal with it, so I guess it was not good news for the Groundhog today, but let's see if it's good news for our pets today. And let's bring on Studio Nut and the pet health guru and the bird. We got to name the bird. Name the bird.
Yes.
What's the bird?
There's a dozen of them. I mean, what can I say? How you doing?
Oh, well, let me tell you how I'm doing. Okay. So I tell Juan before the weekend, I say, okay, make sure, don't forget, because like we're in South Florida, you wouldn't remember. Don't forget, put the heat on, okay? And then I have a recording, actually, Bill, of what happened this weekend. First of all, the stations did go down this weekend. We had a power outage, but I got them back up, but they did go down. I had to walk 5 miles each way in the snow to get the power back on for the studios. So now I'm going to pull this up and see if we can play it here. Ready? Hold on. I turned the volume down so it wouldn't disturb the show. Now it's not playing. Jeez.
It froze.
It's frozen. It's frozen. Oh my Lord, it's frozen. No, so by the way, yesterday at one point it said on the weather app feels like 12. 12. And I think that wasn't the lowest. I think the lowest was feels like 9. Okay. And I was going on my walk for health yesterday, and it wasn't very healthy to take a walk yesterday because as I'm walking, I keep getting bonked in the head by these green things falling out of the sky. I think we're being attacked by the Martians. I think that's what it is. We were attacked by Martians. Everybody's trying to hide it by saying it's iguanas, okay? But that's really the truth of it. Because Martians are pretty invasive species. Just saying, okay? But yeah, it's no joke because, all right, so he did turn on the heat. Okay, we'll go back to that. He did turn on the heat. And then he texts me as I'm driving into his studio to bring a parka. Okay? And so apparently we have no heat in the studio. So we're doing today's broadcast from the West Palm Beach Igloo. So what about down by you? What about down by you? Because you're a little further south. Is it more sunny South Florida where you are?
At this moment, it's a little bit sunnier, but it doesn't feel like the sun is penetrating through all the chemtrails and the garbage they got in the sky because it's not warming.
Well,
I remember when I lived up north. I mean, it could be the middle of January, 4 foot of snow, and you could go out in a t-shirt if the sun was shining because you got that radiant heat. There's no radiant heat. I don't know
Listen,
what's going on with that.
listen, I was very smart on Saturday, and I'll tell you why. Because I was sitting there and I kept getting these notifications all Friday, all Saturday, and I was laughing at them because it's like, oh, there's a freeze coming. I'm like, okay, what is it going to be like 70? But even so, yeah, it was this like panic of cold weather. I'm thinking to myself, if I was in New Jersey, I wouldn't even care that it was sending this to me. But I did listen to my inner voice, okay? And my inner voice told me to do my walk, because a lot of times I don't get my walk done until nighttime, sometimes midnight, because I get so busy, and then that's the only time I have. So, but I did go on the walk, and then like literally an hour after the walk, it went from like, I think it was like almost 70 degrees or 72 degrees to I look at my phone and it's like feels like 34. And then the wind, 45 miles per hour winds. I'm in a high rise on the 36th floor, man. It was scary. I'm telling you, here, I think I have it to where it can play now. Let's try. I can't. Why? Oh, maybe I can't hear it because I've. Oh, can you guys hear it?
Not really.
Why don't you? I played it for Juan earlier. Juan, why don't you describe what you heard that I was sitting on my sofa listening to?
It sounds like a drone taking off.
Let's put it this way, Bill. One of my kids, when I sent the video to her, she thought it was sirens because it kind of sounded like we were in like a nuclear holocaust, basically, and that was with the door closed.
Yeah.
I was also smart enough to bring my stuff in from the balcony. I saw one of the cushions fly off the chair, and I went out. I was in shorts, no socks, ran out on the balcony. I'm like, it's freaking cold. When did that happen? Okay. But I think it's times like this, when it gets this cold, that our pets are addicted. Is that
To
true?
us. Well, they are to us. I mean, crawling into bed at night. This was definitely a two dog night, if not a 3 dog night, and I only got one. It was so cold. But yeah,
did you
I mean,
cuddle up with the iguanas? Did you cuddle up with the iguanas? They're very cuddly.
Nah, not at all. I know. Yeah, I know. I've been in the pet industry only for 60 years. I know how cuddly they are.
Well, if you have an itch on your back, they'll
and-
gladly scratch it.
Oh, yeah, exactly. It was interesting. I saw something this morning that, how you get these government reports on what's going on and all this. So somebody from the government said that it was most likely that the iguanas are falling out of the trees because of the icy cold weather. Might be. I don't know what the other choices would be.
Well, it's other choice. I'll tell you what the other choices are. The other choices are that Bill Gates is injecting them with a chip that makes them do that. The other choice is that Elon Musk brought them back from Mars. And then there's one more choice that somebody brought up in an interview just before this show. Are you ready for this one? Actually, he didn't bring it up. He brought up something and I brought, okay, so I think what's happening is we're trying to make South Florida, at least this area where we are because we're near Mar-a-Lago, we're trying to make everybody accustomed to Greenland. So with all the iguanas on the ground everywhere, we feel like we're in Greenland.
There you go.
We're softening the blow for the takeover.
Absolutely.
So we were going to talk about pet addictions for real, though. We just couldn't resist all this other stuff. But, it's kind of sad to think that pets have to have addictions. Like I bet they didn't have addictions if it weren't for us mad science giving them all this crap, right?
Absolutely. And it's so many. When people think about addictions, of course, they're thinking about the drugs, which, of course, you know, painkillers and all of that stuff, steroids that they put our poor pets on. Yes, those are addictive, but then they can't tell us what effect it's having on their body, except until they fall over, and then it's a little bit obvious. But those addictions are actually caused then by the foods that contain all these addictive chemicals so that you are loyal to one brand of food. And they do it in our fast food as well. I talk about it all the time, the way they layer this stuff so you actually get sick if you eat a competitor's food. But when we look at the way that works, they just want a marketplace. So they make you as addictive as possible. It makes you sick, as anybody that's had that kind of a problem knows. Your health you're in ill health. And again, our pets just can't talk to us in a normal, language that we will understand. And
Because if they could, they would be saying, "WTF are you doing to me?"
exactly. And actually, I think they do it to a certain degree, because what we're seeing in our pets today, compared to 50 years ago, 60 years ago when I started, we never had problems with aggressive dogs, psychotic dogs. They didn't have that. And that's, I think, partly because with all that addictive food, that's poor quality, they feel horrible, and they're basically lashing out at who's providing the food.
Well, it's interesting too, because when we're talking about them getting aggressive, some people might be thinking, oh, well, that has nothing to do with food. But I'm going to give one example that's not food, but very interesting tidbit having to do with humans. There is a correlation between Budweiser beer and violence. Like there's literally something they put in Budweiser beer that makes people more aggressive. So if they're doing that, where else are they putting things that make animals aggressive?
Well, that's true. I mean, when we had, going back in my history, at one point, I owned an animal hospital, and we were working with a group of one of the rescue groups with specialized in Yorkshire Terriers, little tiny dogs. And these dogs were all super aggressive at some point after when they're raised. It's usually in the 2 to 3 year range, where they would literally start going through a lot of anxiety and then start lashing out. Your dog, something, a loud noise, fireworks, thunder, whatever. And they go, and all of a sudden they like freak out and go to what we call ground. They're hiding behind a sofa, a chair, under a table, whatever. And when the owners go, of course, your first response is you want to help them. So you reach behind there, and the teeth come out, the eyes would glaze over, and they would attack the owner. Literally attack them. And then 30 seconds later, 60 seconds later, they would kind of snap out of it, their tails wagging like nothing ever happened. But it's like, hey, mommy, and hey, daddy, why are you bleeding all over the house? They had no idea what it was. When we started doing the investigational studies that we did, we found out, first off, that was a type of seizure that they would go into. Now, where did that seizure come from? It came from mercury poisoning, which mercury, of course, is tied into most medications. It's tied into, as a heavy metal, into a lot of foods, but also in that nasty thing that we're not supposed to talk about, that they jab you with that needle. And when you look at what they do with these 4, 5, 6 pound Yorkies, they're giving them the same dose as a 200-pound Mastiff. I mean, it's like, and this is
No wonder those little
medicine.
No wonder those little dogs are always the ones that are so aggressive.
Yeah. The side effects of mercury poisoning, even in people, is, of course, aggression, homicide, suicide, irrational behaviors, and it's actually a list of 100 different side effects from mercury.
Yeah. Why do we even use all this stuff?
So.
Bill?
It's all about money. We know that big pharma is not looking for cures to any disease. They're looking at perpetuating customers because if anything cured it, why would you need it for life?
Right. Exactly. Why
You
would you?
know, I mean, I've seen several reports from whistleblowers and that oh yeah, we found this, we found that actually works, and it got wrapped up and put in the trash very
Mm,
quickly.
yeah.
And of course, you and I have known each other a long time. I've been doing cancer stuff for over 30 years, 35 years. And we literally, with changes in lifestyle, changes in foods and things of this nature, literally have watched tumors fall off of dogs
Wow.
and completely, the lumps and bumps just completely go away. And where they were given a diagnosis of, oh, you better put your dog to sleep because he's only going to live about 4 to 6 more weeks. We don't want him to suffer. And these dogs are running around 10 years later, just with that lifestyle change. But it's a lot of work to do that, as you know. I mean, you have to go into a so-called supermarket. I don't know. I would call it a chemical factory, but they call them supermarkets these days. And look at almost any package of food. Okay, you buy oatmeal. Why does it have 47 ingredients? If you buy bread, why does it have 30 ingredients? Sourdough bread. It takes 3 ingredients, 4 maybe if you want to flavor it. What's all this stuff about?
Yeah, that is true because
And
if
those
you
are
look at like
addictive.
if you look at the normal like dog food, it'll say like beef flavored or chicken flavored, but does it actually have any chicken or beef in it?
It's funny. That was one of my pet peeves 30 some years ago, 40 some years ago when we started introducing. If it's a beef food, why do I have to add beef flavor? Is there
Right.
something wrong there?
Like, what is the beef
and,
flavoring?
and
Like,
of course,
what is
part
it
of the
actually?
flavoring. Oh, those are chemicals. Actually, when I started in the business 60 years ago, Purina. I don't like to mention names normally, but they touted themselves as the biggest researcher in animal health. Well, the truth of the matter was they were spending more money in research than all the other companies, yes. However, they were doing research in palatants, flavors, to get an animal to eat something that's not supposed to.
Mm.
And of course, why do you think Nestle's bought Purina? Because they wanted the flavors for all the stuff that they sell to us, for us to eat.
Mm.
And it's because of all, you add a preservative to any food. If it's not natural, you got a chemical taste.
I love
And,
that
we have to disguise that.
I love that Nestle's has a brand of water.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, you mean the one that they pump directly out of Lake Michigan for like $50 a year and make millions and millions on?
Yeah, that one.
Yeah. Yeah, I think the state of Michigan charges them like $100 a year for their pumping permit. And it's like, multiple 12-inch water lines pumping water through 24/7 and putting it into very, very toxic, cheap bottles, shipping it across all around the country in the hot sun during the summer months, where all that BPA and phthalates and plasticizers all like leach into it and give it that extra bang for your buck, if you will. And
It
That
gives it that
it's
extra
almost
water
100.
flavor.
Yeah, exactly. A bottle sells
that's
for
what's
for $1, buck and a half, and it costs them probably 2 cents to package and pump.
and that's what was great about today, because when I got in my vehicle to come to his studio and I looked down and saw a bottle of water, I'm like, okay, that doesn't have it. Ain't toxins now because it's too cold.
Yes, it's not sitting in the sun. You're right.
And I have always said like, there's something wrong with our food when they start adding colors as an ingredient, like yellow 5, red 6, and all that other nonsense.
Well, the more interesting part of that is they do it to feed color blind dogs.
Oh man, that's great stuff right there.
Why do we have to have 4 color foods for dogs that can't see color?
I want to know why when you look at foods, I just saw some yesterday, it says pure whatever it is. And then you look at the label and it's a lot of other things. So how is it pure if it's all
Yeah.
these other things?
It's there's so many flaws and so many workarounds and so many payoffs on the labeling laws that it's crazy. I mean, I did a show on Pet Health Cafe about a month, 2 months ago on the labeling law, and we're talking about the grass finished, pasture finished beef that has a list of at least 30 feed additives that can be fed to them without labeling it, and actually mislabeling it on top of that. It's
Hey,
nuts.
Juan, do you like hot dogs?
Not really.
Okay,
I
because
know how the hot dogs are made. So
yeah, there's a certain amount of rat turd that is allowed by law by the Food and Drug Administration. There's a certain amount of sawdust that's allowed. Of course, that gives the filler, and
Yep.
and a whole mess of other things.
well, that's also true for chocolate. If you haven't like looked into that, there's a certain percentage amount of rats and bugs that you can put into it, depending on like what the machine picks up.
Yeah, but those
Yeah.
are protein.
Yeah. And yeah, I know there's actually in the statute there's like for Heinz ketchup there's a certain amount of insect legs that can be in your Heinz ketchup.
Just the legs, no
If it
bodies,
exceeds
or
it, no, just legs. They
just
allow for legs.
Yeah, well, the
It's
legs
not.
are where all the proteins at.
Yeah,
that's
it's
where
like a
the flavoring
drumstick.
comes from.
Oh no, some of the things in the labeling laws are just atrocious, and it's just workarounds that they actually do so that big corporations can sell us garbage, and that are also tied. The chairman of the board or the board members of a big food company are also sitting on the board of the chemical company, and so you have a position on the pharmaceutical company. It's all the same people, you know, and they're directing what we put into the body, our dog's body, cat's body, and it's a system designed to keep us as customers, clients, not healthy.
It's a sad day when cat poop is more nutritious than the food that they're being given.
Exactly, that is actually true. But the
That's
cats do have to be fed real food, like we do at my Paleo Pet, and BioComplete, because we're using real foods there. We're not doing a chemical mix. And honestly, I don't know what's wrong with me. I've never had to buy any natural flavors for any of the things that we produce and sell.
Yeah, what is a natural flavor anyway?
Your guess is that's what I say. That was the old Purina Nestle's model. They were making synthetic flavors. That's all it is. And it's the same thing in the supplement business with synthetic supplements, synthetic vitamins, synthetic minerals that your body can't use. And again, it's just, we'll stick something in a capsule and call it whatever. We have no way of knowing that.
Yeah, how do people
I was
know?
looking at that. Yeah. I mean, you come into my place of business. I can tell you what I put into my recipes. You go into the doctor's office, he takes a vial of something and puts it into a implement to put into your body. Ask him if what's in it. Can't answer you. There's no ingredient list. There's none of that information. Just do it. Compliance.
Mm.
And then you have to go back because of the side effects.
Gotta make sure those dogs and cats and keep in line.
That's right.
Now, there
That's
was this
right.
one time I saw something that was labeled natural, but underneath it in small print said with added minerals. What does that mean?
It means that they've all been stripped out or they didn't have them in the first place. That's part of the
How can it be
issue. Our
natural
body,
if it doesn't have any minerals?
Because it's natural before they put the minerals in it.
well, that's true. It's like there's a advertisement for a garlic product that's on the market, and the disclaimer in the product, and it contains like 20 or 30 different ingredients. And it's labeled as organic, but they do a disclaimer at the end that says only the garlic is organic that they use in the product.
Wow.
The rest of it, I found that to be interesting. Well,
that's why
I
we
mean,
need to just get all our food and all our pets' foods from the Orthodox rabbis, because at least we'll know what's going in it.
Pretty much. Well, you have to remember they were the original doctors, medical people were the rabbis, and that's who were the healers. They were the teachers and the healers.
Yeah.
And of course, the definition of doctor is an educator, a teacher, but none of them teach anything anymore.
So there was this one time, and this was like years ago. I went to the doctor and I told him my symptoms, and he was on his laptop, and the person that I went with was on the other side of him, and like they told me that, oh yeah, he was Googling your symptoms.
Wow.
Yeah. When we had the animal hospital, of course, the industry basically provided us with a software package so that we could do everything. Well, not only did you take, vet tech comes in and she's got a list of questions, 20 or 30 questions, and they just check the boxes. And then they go in the back, and you don't see a doctor for another 30 minutes or so. And what they're doing is they're putting in those into the computer system, and it spits out the types of tests they want to do, the types of drugs and treatments and foods, all of that. But the second part of that is they click another button, and it brings up your financials. And then it's tied directly into what they call these care cards, which is the insurance cards, to tell you how much we can give you to spend on a credit card. And your workup then always seems to meet exactly what the credit limit is.
That's interesting.
Yeah. I mean, I've had clients that live on Miracle Mile in Palm Beach, and yet one that lives in the lower, middle class area, same procedure, two different prices.
Wow. So, Bill, how can people reach out to you, get real information, truthful information, and help for their pets?
Well, I'm all over the place in what we do. Pet Health Cafe, we're pushing a lot of people to that, so I don't have to repeat myself 10,000 times a day. There's a ton of information on Pet Health Cafe. We're in our 18th season with that. Of course, a lot of you'll have to go back to iHeartRadio in the old days, but we've been doing several years now of video, so there's all that information. And information also is, of course, on a host of different, stations in our group here. Of course, you can also go to mypaleopet.com or mypaleopet, the store, the location. I work out of there. I do consultations and educational classes. Occasionally, you'll find me out on the road giving presentations and doing talks. People can book me for that as well. And we just, we're all over the place as far as education is concerned. And there's so many new technologies we're looking at. We're looking at food. But again, we have trouble even sourcing clean food. So that's important that you know where the sources of your food come. That's when we have our basically farm to table in My Paleo Pet. Great meats, poultry, raw milk products, for yourself, a ton of different herbs and botanicals, which are our mineral supply, basically. And, on the Pet Health Cafe, I do have a plethora of different hosts, different guests coming on. I'm going to have Morley Robbins on again this week, who is a mineral specialist, talking about copper and magnesium and all the stuff and where we source it and how it runs our life. And it's going to be an extraordinary show. He's been on 5 or 6 times now, and an amazing amount of research that he does and brings it forward. So we're looking forward to that this week. And of course, staying warm. That's another important thing that we have to
On
do.
that note, by the way, I want to know why. Maybe you can explain, Pet Health Guru, but it's not pet, so maybe not. Why the cold weather turns Juan into a Teletubby?
I think it has to do with some of the nature of the blood when you're down here in normal warm weather or warmer weather. I was joking around. We do therapy with a patch therapy that uses the body's own light. And I said this morning to somebody, I said, we need to come up with one. They have one for pain. It's called Ice Wave. But this one we were going to have to name Heat Wave so we could put a patch on and it'll warm our bodies in this weather.
Right. Let's pray that this never happens again. This is like Armageddon right now. Look behind me. It's terrible.
Yeah, hell has frozen over.
The Pipeman is in frozen hell right now. But we got some better hell coming up in a couple months because we're going to run in a minute some commercials for a couple festivals that we're doing ticket giveaways for. And you won't see the commercial because we just got approval literally during the show, but we're going to be also doing some ticket giveaways for incarceration. So all you people that want to go to prison and see a great music festival, that's where you want to go. And it's Shawshank Prison. So who doesn't want to go to Shawshank Prison? Come on, I just want to say that it has been a brutal winter. Last week I was saying it was brutal because I had wear pants one day, and then God smote me and decided to give us this weather for saying that, and now I have to look at a Teletubby all day. So I don't know. We got some more interviews right before this show. We did an interview that will be coming out live and on the podcast with John Karabi, who is a rock legend, and he's got some new killer music. One of the newest single is "When I Was Young." I feel myself saying that every hour of the day. It used to be I used to tell stories to people. Now I have to preface all those stories with "When I Was Young." How about you, Bill?
Absolutely. Same thing. It's like, I don't know where time goes. I mean, I can't believe that we're in February already.
I know, right? I even saw memes on socials of people saying, they got through the year of January. But it did go quick, man. I can't believe January's already gone. And February's a short month, so as far as I'm concerned, I was literally saying this to myself earlier. Oh, crap, it's February 2nd. This month's already over. Because it will be. Like, it's a shorter month, so we're going to wake up. See what you have to look forward to there, Juan. You're going to wake up one day, and you're no longer going to be a Teletubby.
I'm looking forward to that.
How quick was January for you, Studio Nut?
It feels like I went to sleep and then I woke up and it was cold. And it was February. That's how it felt.
This kind of reminds me when I first got married, and I was living in Florida and I couldn't stand being here. So I moved my then wife up to New Jersey with our kids. And it was like the beginning of March. It was the end of February. And we're in South Carolina. It starts getting cold. And she was a Florida girl. So she was like, well, I hope at least if it's going to be cold, it's going to snow. I'm like, no, we're going to get there in the beginning of March. It'll be windy. The snow is probably done by now. We'll be lucky if there's any snow. That was the blizzard of 93. Like literally we arrived in New Jersey the day of blizzard of 93. It was quite amazing too, because we had this picturesque, the picture windows up north that you have in the kitchen window. And
right.
And so thing one was talking to her mom, and she's looking outside, and there's like blue jays and cardinals flying around, and it's snowing, and it's all beautiful. And she's like, oh, it's telling her mom, oh, it's like a winter wonderland. It's like a Lifetime movie where it says 4 hours later. And then she goes to me, she looks at me, there's like 2 feet on the ground. It's still like dropping hard, just like it is behind me here. And she's like, is it ever going to stop? And so we had a Bichon, Bill, and the snow was so deep that the Bichon fell into the snow, like running, and you couldn't see the dog because she blended right in with all the snow.
Absolutely.
So
absolutely.
So there you go. What do you recommend for Bichons to stay warm in this South Florida weather?
Today, it used to be that, and I talked about this morning walking the dog, that our dogs were outside in Buffalo no matter what the weather was. They just loved the weather, the cold weather, everything else. Now I'm getting, people are messaging me, that they've got 14 sweaters and coats on their dogs in the house. It's like,
oh my Lord.
And it's, I went through that whole cycle in the beginning of my career where doggy clothing just started to come in. And some people are, they're a little bit extreme on that stuff.
My mother was a bit extreme on that. The booties, the sweaters, all that stuff. Yep. Not my dog. My dog never had any of those. There's my childhood trauma coming out. You're not going to have any sweaters or any booties or anything like that. But we are going to have a music festival in Columbus, Ohio, and right here at the Daytona International Speedway. I love doing that festival because when I have to go to the press area, I have to drive on the Daytona Speedway. It's so cool. And so like maybe one of you will get to drive on the Daytona Speedway if you win tickets. Just go to Pipeman Radio on all socials and enter to win tickets to these festivals. Roll it, Juan. Oh, wait, Juan. Wait. I also have to say, after the festival commercial, stick around because we have some amazing business advice from Powerful Business Strategies expert Michael Barbarita. We're going to talk about multimedia campaigns. Very, very important. I even need to tune into this. So stay tuned. And okay, now you can roll it, Juan.
The Sonic Temple Art and Music Festival returns May 14th through 17th with My Chemical Romance, Tool, Bring Me the Horizon, and Shinedown. Plus, Pierce the Veil, Good Charlotte, The Offspring, Sublime, Godsmack, Breaking Benjamin, Marilyn Manson, and so many more. Sonic Temple in Columbus, Ohio, May 14th to 17th. Passes on sale now for as low as $1 down at sonictemplefestival.com. Welcome to Rockville. Returns to Daytona International Speedway May 7th through 10th with Foo Fighters, My Chemical Romance, Guns N' Roses, and Bring Me the Horizon. Plus Turnstile, Five Finger Death Punch, The Offspring, Breaking Benjamin, A Day to Remember, Godsmack, and so many more. Welcome to Rockville, May 7th through 10th. Passes on sale now for as low as $1 down at welcometoRockville.com.
Hi, you're listening to The Adventures of Pipeman on W4CY Radio.
This is the Pipeman here on the Adventures of Pipeman W4CY Radio, again with the Positively Pipeman segment and our special part of the show where we give you some powerful business strategies from our amazing guru of business from Next Step CFO, Michael Barbarita. How are you?
Excellent. How you doing, Dean?
I'm doing great.
Thanks for having me.
I understand this week we're going to talk about multimedia campaigns. That's a subject that I love.
Yeah. So what I'm finding is that, when I talk to clients and talk to business owners, they say it's, it's hard for them to to reach people with any credibility. Because there's a lot of messages going out all different directions, all different angles. And what I found helpful for most business owners, in order to give yourself credibility and also, but still maintain, still have a contact that you're working with, is to do what I call multimedia campaigns. Now, when I was in the ski business, that was all we did. But at the time there was no internet, so it was all direct mail, radio, newspaper, billboard, sometimes an airplane flying over a beach. But it was a multi yeah, it was a multi-media campaign, because by hitting people with different messages from different outlets, you're able to gain credibility, at least over time. And so let me explain how someone could do a multimedia campaign now, and it's a lot easier and a lot less expensive than what I just described when I was in the ski business. So first of all, everybody knows about email, so that's one point of contact, and that's one outlet. Next is ringless voicemail. I don't know if people know about that. There's all types of CRM platforms that offer what's called a ringless voicemail, where you have the telephone number of the client, of the customer, of the prospect, I should say, and their phone doesn't ring, but a voicemail is left. You also have the telephone itself to call and reach out. That's another way. Direct mail still works. I know, contrary to popular belief, direct mail also adds to the credibility, because you're not just spamming, as some people would perceive it. You could also text them, and you can also send them a LinkedIn message. So by utilizing all those points of attack, all those different outlets, you gain credibility with the prospect. It's not, because what you're doing is you're not just slamming them once or twice, or just with one outlet like email, which is considered a lazy person's way of connecting. You're actually connecting them from all different angles, and it builds your credibility as well as your credibility as to what you do, because you really have an intense interest in meeting this person and talking to this person.
Now, I have a question. You're talking about, and we've talked about it before, the ringless voicemail.
Right.
What does your research show of how people are reacting to that? Because part of me says, wow, that's a great idea, because it's the phone calls that are annoying, and I can choose to listen to the voicemail, but the phone calls are annoying. But then on the other side of it, I'm thinking, well, what if people are annoyed that you're just spamming as they would think, spamming a voicemail? Right.
Well, there's a couple of things on that. First of all, a lot of people think it's their cell phone especially, that has been mistimed some way, where they didn't get, because many times I get calls that should have rung from people I know, the phone should have rang, and it didn't, because of the cell, being in between cells or something. So that's number one. Number two, no one particular outlet works by itself at all. And so with ringless voicemail, I have found less of an annoyance, but it does not work on its own. So if you're just doing a ringless voicemail campaign, forget it. That your credibility is shot. Yeah. But when you're attacking from all different outlets, it actually builds credibility, because, oh, this guy must really want to talk to me, or this person must be authentic, or maybe it's the fifth message when they finally decide to look you up online, and see that you're credible. So it's the multimedia approach that is important, not necessarily any one outlet or any one medium.
Yeah, and to that point, I find that even what we're doing right now is part of those multimedia campaigns.
That's correct. Absolutely. So, any type of outreach to any type of prospect, as long as it's in a multiple form, it's going to separate you from the rest. And what happens is it's like people don't want to use direct mail because it costs more, and it does. But remember back in my day, we had direct mail, but we also had to be on the radio. That costs more than emailing or anything like that, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. We also had to be on the newspaper. That's expensive. Especially
You had to be in the yellow pages. That was expensive.
Oh God, I know it. Unbelievable. So you think about the cost, and when you talk about emailing, ringless voicemail, texting, LinkedIn connection, and direct mail, you're not talking about big costs there.
Yeah. And I think not just LinkedIn, I think all forms of social media. I think people look at you as more legitimate if you're on multiple social media.
That's another
than just
thing,
one.
right? That's excellent point. Excellent point, T. Yeah, that's right. If you're on multiple social medias and direct messaging from multiple social medias, absolutely, that's another credibility factor, because it shows you're working at it.
Yeah.
And it shows that you're not some type of scammer, because eventually you're going to be looked up and shown that you're credible, as long as you are.
Well, it's funny too. You mentioned LinkedIn, which I think is such a powerful tool for business, and but I also think that goes right in line with what you're saying, because I get 10 million spam messages in my LinkedIn every day, and so the only ones I'll pay attention to are people that I know from some other campaign.
That's it.
Not just the LinkedIn message.
Right. And by the way, you can use the telephone too. And what I do with that is, especially if I know I'm calling a cell phone, I'll make a call, I'll leave a message, and then I'll send a text right after. Just left you a message about ABC. Would love to speak to you. Boom. And that, once again, that combination, that shows that you did some of the work. In other words, you just didn't spam the text. You actually made a phone call and made a concerted effort to speak to that person.
There you go.
It goes a long way. It goes much further than just spraying stuff out there, which is what a lot of people are doing.
Oh, no doubt about it. And, to be successful, you do have to show some effort and some ingenuity and create a relationship. And you don't create that by just spamming one thing at one, with no effort put into it.
And when you think about it too, Dean, if your effort is targeted, really targeted, I'm only talking about sending out 100 direct mail pieces, and then focusing on that 100 people and hitting them from all angles. I'm not talking about grabbing 3,000 and spraying it out there. You can't do it.
Yeah.
But if maybe 50 to 100 direct mail postcards or pieces, as well as the phone calls, the ringless voicemails, the texting, the LinkedIn messages, they all add up to credibility.
Absolutely. So any other bits of advice you could give people about multimedia campaigns, and then how do they reach out to you to get even more help in this arena?
Right. So I just want to reiterate that it just helps going over the noise that's out there. And most people are going to take that inexpensive, cheap route of slamming. And this is a way where it's still inexpensive, but you're showing that you're providing more effort, that you really want to speak to somebody. And so the ways to reach me is go to my website, nextstepcfo.net. I love to do book interviews because business is always changing, and that we wrote our book about a little over a year ago, and we're constantly updating it with new information. And the way the book interview works, it's at 60 minutes on Zoom. I present strategies from my book, and then I ask you if that strategy were implemented in your industry, if it would be effective. And then and you comment it, and I comment on that, and I document it for the book. And that's
nice.
It. Yep.
Nice. I love it.
And yes, and the person who's being interviewed loves it because they learn about new strategies that they didn't know before that their competition isn't doing.
Well, you are a wealth of information. People definitely need to reach out to you and check out everything that you do. Even if this subject doesn't pertain to them, you have some definite, powerful business strategies. So thank you once again, Michael Barbarita from Next Step CFO. We look forward to talking to you next week where we're just going to ask.
Look forward to it. Thank you, Dean.
Thank you for listening to the Adventures of Pipeman on W4CY Radio.